In a monastery outside Kyoto, a samurai sat in meditation for the third consecutive night without sleep. His name was Takeshi. He was 24 years old. And he was losing his mind. Not from exhaustion, from thoughts. The same thoughts, looping endlessly. You're not good enough, you'll fail. Everyone sees your weakness, you should have died in that last battle instead of your brother. Round and round, relentless, merciless. The abbot found him at dawn, eyes hollow, hands trembling. Master, I survived 100 battles. I've faced death without fear, but I cannot defeat my own mind. These thoughts are destroying me. The old monk looked at him with eyes that had seen 1,000 warriors break. Takeshi, you're making the same mistake every samurai makes. You're trying to fight your thoughts, and the more you fight them, the stronger they become. Then what do I do? You learn the paradox. The way to eliminate negative thoughts forever is not to eliminate them at all. This conversation would change everything. Not just for Takeshi, but for generations of warriors who came after him. Because what the abbot taught him that morning was a technique so counterintuitive, so powerful, that it sounds impossible, until you experience it yourself. Here's what nobody tells you about negative thoughts. You have approximately 60,000 thoughts per day. Up to 80% of them are negative, and 95% of them are the same thoughts you had yesterday. You're not broken. Your mind is functioning exactly as it evolved to function. The problem is you're using Stone Age software to navigate a modern world. Right now, as you watch this, negative thoughts are running in the background of your mind. Worries, regrets, anxieties, self-criticisms. They're like apps you never closed, draining your battery, slowing everything down. The question is, are you ready to learn what that abbot taught Takeshi? Are you ready to discover the ancient samurai technique that eliminates negative thoughts, not through force, but through understanding? Chapter 1: The Warrior's Curse. The Year of Drowning. Takeshi had always been the strong one. At 16, he entered his lord's service as a foot soldier. By 20, he distinguished himself in 3 major battles. Calm under pressure, decisive in chaos, the kind of warrior others looked to when death was close. But strength has a cost nobody talks about. 2 years before that morning in the monastery, Takeshi fought in the Battle of Sekigahara, the battle that would end the civil wars and unite Japan under one rule. It was October 21st, 1600. Over 160,000 warriors clashed in a single day, the largest battle in Japanese history. Takeshi fought beside his younger brother, Hideaki. They'd trained together since childhood, sparred together every morning, shared the same dream of serving with honor. The battle was chaos, smoke screaming, the clash of steel on steel. At one point, Takeshi lost sight of Hideaki in the press of bodies. He heard a cry, turned, saw his brother surrounded, outnumbered. Takeshi had a choice: press forward with his unit to capture the enemy position, or break formation to help his brother. He chose the mission. He pressed forward. It was the right tactical decision. His commander later praised him for it. Their unit took the position. Their side won the battle. But Hideaki died, and that's when the thoughts started. At first, they came at night. You chose wrong. You could have saved him. You're a coward who hid behind duty. Takeshi would wake, heart pounding, reaching for his sword before realizing the enemy was in his own head. Then the thoughts came during the day. During training, during meals, during conversations, a constant whisper underneath everything. Everyone knows you let him die. They see through you. You don't deserve to be samurai. You should have died instead of him. He tried everything, more training, pushing his body until exhaustion forced sleep. Alcohol. Silence. None of it worked. The thoughts kept coming, and slowly Takeshi started to believe them. His performance suffered. In sparring sessions, he'd hesitate. In meetings, he'd second-guess his instincts. The confidence that made him an effective warrior evaporated. One evening, his commander pulled him aside. "Takeshi, you're one of my best men, but something's wrong, I can see it. Whatever battle you're fighting inside, you need to win it, or you'll die in the next real one." That night, Takeshi made a decision. He requested permission to leave active service temporarily and travel to the monastery at Mount Koya. If he couldn't defeat these thoughts through strength, Maybe he could find another way. Chapter 2, the first lesson. The paradox of control. The monastery was silent in a way that made Takeshi uncomfortable. No orders being shouted, no swords clashing. Just wind through bamboo and the sound of monks going about their work. The abbot, Master Ryokan, received him in a simple room, no decorations. Just a single scroll on the wall and 2 cushions on the floor. "Why have you come?" the abbot asked. Takeshi explained. The battle, his brother, the thoughts that wouldn't stop. The abbot listened without interruption. When Takeshi finished, Ryokan nodded slowly. "And what have you tried in order to stop these thoughts?" "Everything, Master. I've tried to ignore them. I've tried to replace them with better thoughts. I've tried to exhaust myself so they can't surface. Nothing works. They always come back stronger." "Yes," Ryokan said, "they always do. Do you know why?" Takeshi shook his head. "Because you're feeding them. Every time you fight a thought, you give it energy. Every time you try to push it away, you're actually pulling it closer. This is the paradox of control. The more you try to control your mind, the more out of control it becomes." The abbot stood, walked to a small pond visible through the open door. "Come, I'll show you something." They stood at the edge of the pond. The water was perfectly still, reflecting the sky. Ryokan picked up a stone and dropped it in the center. Ripples spread outward, disturbing the mirror-like surface. This is what happens when a negative thought appears. It creates ripples, disturbances. Now, what would happen if you tried to stop the ripples by hitting the water with your hand? More ripples, more disturbance. Exactly, the water becomes more chaotic, not less, but watch. They stood in silence. Gradually, the ripples faded. The water returned to stillness. The ripples disappear on their own when you stop interfering with them. Thoughts are the same. They arise, they disturb your peace, and if you simply observe them without interference, they naturally dissolve. Takeshi frowned. "Master, with respect, that sounds too simple. These thoughts are destroying me. I can't just watch them and do nothing." "You're right. It's simple but not easy. And you're not doing nothing. You're doing the hardest thing a warrior can do. You're learning to be still in the presence of the enemy." Ryokan returned to the room, knelt on his cushion. Takeshi followed. "Takeshi, answer me this. When you're in battle and an enemy attacks, what do you do?" "I defend or counterattack." "And if you're surrounded by 10 enemies all attacking at once?" "I focus on one at a time, deal with the immediate threat, stay present." "Yes, now why don't you do this with your thoughts?" The question hung in the air. Takeshi realized something. In battle, he never tried to eliminate all enemies at once. He dealt with what was in front of him, moment by moment. But with his thoughts, he was trying to eliminate them all forever, to achieve some perfect state of mental peace that would last eternally. "I see, Master. I've been trying to win a battle that can't be won." "Not quite. You've been trying to win a battle that doesn't need to be fought. Here is the technique the samurai of old understood. It has 3 parts. Are you ready to learn?" Takeshi bowed deeply. "Yes, Master, please teach me. If you're beginning to see how this ancient technique might free you from the tyranny of your own mind, join the Presence and Purpose community. Subscribe and learn the practices that transform mental chaos into unshakable peace. Chapter 3, the 3-part technique. Part 1, recognition without reaction. The first part, Ryokan began, is called Miru, to see. Not to see and judge, not to see and respond, simply to see. He instructed Takeshi to sit in meditation posture. Back straight, hands resting, eyes slightly lowered. Now wait for a negative thought to appear, it won't take long. Takeshi sat. Within seconds, the familiar voice started. You're wasting time here, you should be training. You're getting weaker while others get stronger. There, Takeshi said, it's starting. Good. Now don't fight it. Don't try to change it. Don't analyze why it's there. Simply observe it like you're watching a cloud pass through the sky. Notice it. Name it. This is a thought about wasting time. Takeshi tried. But immediately he felt tension. His jaw clenched, his breathing quickened. Master, just observing it makes me anxious. It feels like I'm letting it win. That tension you feel? That's the second thought, the thought about the thought. You're not just having I'm wasting time, you're also having I shouldn't be having this thought, and this thought means something bad about me. Ryokan leaned forward. Here is what you must understand. A negative thought is like a messenger. The messenger isn't the problem. The problem is that you're fighting the messenger, which means you never hear the message. I don't understand. The thought you're wasting time is just information. Your mind is telling you that time matters to you. That's not wrong, it's actually useful information. But then you add judgment, or I must eliminate this thought or I'm weak. So, what do I do with the information? First, just receive it. Thank you, mind, for alerting me that time is important to me. Then let it pass. If action is needed, it will become clear. But most thoughts don't require action. They just require acknowledgement. Over the next 3 days, Takeshi practiced Miru. Every time a negative thought appeared, he would mentally step back and observe it. Not I'm not good enough, but I'm having the thought that I'm not good enough. Not I should have saved my brother, but I'm having the thought that I should have saved my brother. This small shift created distance. The thoughts didn't disappear, but they lost some of their power. On the 4th day, Ryokan taught him the second part. Part 2, understanding the source. Now that you can observe your thoughts without immediately reacting, we go deeper. This is called Shiru, to know the source. The abbot explained something that would sound familiar to modern neuroscience, even though he had no scientific instruments. Your mind has 2 voices, Takeshi. The first voice is ancient. It comes from the part of you that kept your ancestors alive for thousands of years. This voice is always scanning for danger, always looking for what could go wrong, always preparing for threat. The negative thoughts. Yes, they're not your enemy. They're your protector. A very anxious, very paranoid protector, but a protector nonetheless. Ryokan drew a circle in the dust. This is your aware mind, the part of you that can observe thoughts. He drew a smaller circle inside. This is the protector. In Japanese, we call it bono, the afflictions, the disturbing emotions. The protector speaks constantly. Watch out for that. Remember when you failed before, don't trust this situation. It means well. It's trying to keep you safe. The problem is, it can't tell the difference between a real tiger and an imagined failure. So how do I quiet it? You don't. That's the mistake. You befriend it. You thank it for trying to protect you, and then you gently let it know you're safe right now, in this moment. This seemed absurd to Takeshi. Thank his negative thoughts. But Ryokan had him practice. When the thought, you're not good enough, appeared, instead of fighting it, Takeshi would respond internally, thank you for trying to protect me from failure. I hear your concern. Right now, in this moment, I'm safe. Something remarkable happened. The thought would soften, not disappear, but lose its urgency, its emotional charge. You see, Ryokan explained, your mind is like a worried parent. If you fight with a worried parent, they worry more. If you acknowledge their concern and reassure them, they can relax. Over the next week, Takeshi practiced Shiru. He began to recognize patterns. The thought, you should have saved him, always came when he felt powerless. The thought, you're weak, came when he feared judgment from others. Each thought had a source, a fear underneath, a wound trying to protect itself from being hurt again. Understanding this changed everything. The thoughts no longer felt like attacks. They felt like frightened children, trying to keep him safe in the only way they knew how. But there was still one more part to learn. Chapter 4, the final element. Part 3, return to the moment. 3 weeks into his stay, Ryokan taught Takeshi the third and final part of the technique. I've learned Miru to see thoughts without reaction. You've learned Shiru to understand their source. Now you learn Kaeru, to return. They walked to the monastery's meditation hall, a large room where dozens of monks sat in rows, completely still, completely present. Sit with them, Ryokan instructed. And when a negative thought comes after you've observed it and understood it, do one thing. Return your attention to your be. Return your attention to your breath, to the sensation of air entering and leaving your body. This is the key that completes the technique. Takeshi sat. Almost immediately the thoughts came. You're not like these monks, you're a warrior. You're wasting your time here. He observed it, Miru. I'm having the thought that I'm wasting time. He understood its source, Shiru. This thought comes from fear that I'm falling behind, that I'm not meeting expectations. Then he did something new. He gently redirected his attention to his breath. In, out, the rise and fall of his chest. The thought didn't disappear, but it was no longer the center of his attention. It became background noise while his breath became the foreground. Another thought came. You failed your brother, you don't deserve peace. Observe, I'm having the thought that I failed. Understand? This thought comes from grief and guilt, trying to ensure I never make that mistake again. Return breath in, out. And here's what Takeshi discovered. The thoughts kept coming, but they came like waves hitting the shore. Each wave would rise, crest, and naturally recede if he didn't grab onto it and ride it out into the ocean of rumination. Observe, understand, return to the present moment. Miru, Shiru, Kaeru. Saying no, return. This wasn't positive thinking. This wasn't replacing negative thoughts with affirmations. This was something deeper. This was learning to change his relationship with thinking itself. After the meditation session, Ryokan asked him, "How was it?" The thoughts were still there, Master, but they felt different, less solid, more like weather passing through rather than walls blocking my path. Yes, this is it. This is what the ancient samurai understood. You cannot eliminate thoughts. The mind produces thoughts like the eyes produce sight and the ears produce hearing. It's what the mind does. But you can change your relationship to thoughts. You can observe them without becoming them. You can understand them without obeying them. And you can return to the present moment, where peace always exists, regardless of what thoughts are passing through. Takeshi practiced the three-part technique every day for the next 2 months. Miru, Shiru, Kaeru. Gradually something shifted. The thoughts about his brother still came, but they no longer controlled him. They were like old friends visiting occasionally, sad friends with sad stories, but just visitors. He could feel grief without being destroyed by it. He could remember his failure without defining himself by it. He could acknowledge his fear without letting it paralyze him. One morning, Takeshi woke and realized he'd slept through the entire night for the first time in 2 years. Chapter 5. The Science Behind the Silence. Why this works. Before we continue with Takeshi's story, let's understand what was actually happening in his brain. Modern neuroscience has discovered something profound. The average person has between 12,000 and 60,000 thoughts per day. Of those, 80% are negative and 95% are repetitive. This isn't a flaw, it's a feature. Your brain evolved in environments where negativity bias kept you alive. The ancestor who worried about every rustling bush survived longer than the optimist who assumed everything was fine. But here's the problem. Your brain can't distinguish between actual threats and imagined ones. To your amygdala, the fear center of your brain, the thought, "I might fail this presentation," triggers the same stress response as, "There's a predator nearby." When Takeshi practiced Miru, observation without reaction, he was activating his prefrontal cortex while reducing activity in his amygdala. He was literally rewiring the connection between thought and emotional response. Studies on meditation practitioners show this clearly. After just 8 weeks of mindfulness practice, participants show decreased gray matter density in the amygdala and increased density in the hippocampus, the area associated with learning and memory. When Takeshi practiced Shiru, understanding the source, he was engaging what neuroscientists call metacognition, the ability to think about thinking. This creates psychological distance from thoughts, reducing their emotional impact. Dr. Ethan Cross at the University of Michigan has shown that this distancing technique reduces activity in brain regions associated with rumination and increases activity in regions associated with emotional regulation. And when Takeshi practiced Kaeru, returning to the breath, he was stimulating his vagus nerve, which activates the parasympathetic nervous system. This is your body's natural calming mechanism, the opposite of fight or flight. The samurai didn't have MRI machines, but they understood through centuries of practice what science is only now confirming. Negative thoughts cannot be eliminated through force, but their power can be dissolved through proper relationship. The Buddhist text Dhammapada states, "We are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world." The samurai understood this differently. We are not our thoughts, we are the space in which thoughts appear. This distinction changes everything. If you're realizing that freedom from negative thoughts isn't about having different thoughts, but about relating to all thoughts differently, subscribe to this channel. Join us as we explore the warrior practices that create mental freedom in a world of mental chaos. Chapter 6: The Return to Battle. Testing the technique. 4 months after arriving at the monastery, Takeshi received word. His commander was requesting his return. There was conflict brewing in the northern provinces. Skilled warriors were needed. The night before leaving, Takeshi met with Ryokan one final time. "Master, I've learned the technique. The thoughts no longer control me the way they did, but I worry. Out there in real battle under real pressure, will this practice hold?" Ryokan smiled. "Takeshi, you've been in battle this entire time. The battle against your own mind. That's the only battle that truly matters. Physical enemies can only kill your body. Mental enemies can kill your spirit while leaving your body walking around. You've learned to observe without reacting, understand without obeying, and return to the present moment. These skills don't disappear under pressure. They strengthen under pressure. This is why warriors throughout history have practiced meditation, not to escape reality, but to be fully present for it." The old monk handed Takeshi a small scroll. 2 characters in elegant calligraphy. "Fudoshin," Ryokan said. "Immovable mind. Not unmoved by experience, but unmoved by the need to control experience. Remember this. Thoughts will come. They always do. Your job is not to stop them. Your job is to remain still while they pass through." Takeshi bowed deeply. "Thank you, Master, for saving my life. I saved nothing. You learned to stop drowning in the river of your own thinking, that's all." Takeshi returned to service, and for the next year he faced situation after situation that would have previously triggered the spiral of negative thoughts. In battle, when fear arose, he would notice it. Miru. "I'm having the thought that I might die." He would understand it. Shiru. "This thought comes from my survival instinct, which is appropriate right now." He would return to the moment. Kaeru, breath, stance the enemy in front of him. Action without thought. And something remarkable happened. His performance improved dramatically, because he wasn't fighting 2 battles anymore. He was only fighting the one in front of him. During a critical siege, Takeshi's unit was trapped, surrounded. Most men were panicking. In the old days, Takeshi would have joined them, drowning in thoughts of failure, death, shame. Instead, he became perfectly calm. Not because he eliminated fear, because he observed it, understood it, and returned his attention to what needed to be done. He noticed a weakness in the enemy formation, proposed a breakthrough strategy, led the charge himself. His unit escaped with minimal casualties. Afterward, his commander pulled him aside. "Takeshi, you've changed. You're the same warrior you were 3 years ago, before your brother's death." "What happened?" "I learned that I'm not my thoughts, sir. And once you understand that, nothing can truly defeat you." Chapter 7, the teaching continues. The cycle completes 10 years later. Takeshi, now in his mid-30s, has retired from active military service. His lord has granted him permission to establish a small training hall for young samurai. But Takeshi doesn't just teach sword technique. He teaches the 3-part method. One morning, a young warrior named Kenji comes to him. The boy is talented but anxious, clearly struggling with something internal. "Master Takeshi, I have a problem. Tell me." "I can't stop thinking about my last duel. I made a mistake. A simple error everyone saw. Now every time I train, that moment replays in my mind. You're not good enough. You'll fail again. Everyone thinks you're weak. The thoughts are constant. I can't make them stop." Takeshi smiles. He's heard this before. He said it himself once. "Come sit with me." They sit in seiza before a small shrine. On the wall a scroll, 2 characters, Fudoshin, immovable mind. "Kenji, I'm going to teach you something that will change your life. Not because it's complicated, but because it's so simple that most warriors never learn it." "What is it, Master?" "The way to eliminate negative thoughts forever is to stop trying to eliminate them." Kenji looks confused, exactly as Takeshi once did. "I don't understand." You will. Here's what you need to learn. Thoughts are not commands, they're just events in consciousness, like clouds passing through the sky. You don't fight clouds, you simply watch them pass. Over the next months, Takeshi teaches Kenji the three-part technique. Miru, observe the thought without judgment. I'm having the thought that I'm not good enough. Shiru, understand its source. This thought comes from fear of judgment, which is my mind trying to help me avoid social rejection. Kaeru, return to the present moment. Breath, body. What's actually here right now? Kenji practices daily. At first it feels pointless. The thoughts keep coming, but gradually he notices the same thing Takeshi noticed. The thoughts lose their solid quality. They become transparent, still present but no longer overwhelming. One day during sparring, Kenji faces a senior student. The old fear arises. You're going to mess up again, everyone's watching. But this time Kenji observes it, understands it, and returns his attention to his opponent's stance, his own breathing, the moment unfolding. He doesn't fight perfectly, but he fights freely, without the weight of 1,000 thoughts dragging him down. After the match, he bows to Takeshi. Master, I think I understand now. The thoughts are still there, but they don't control me anymore. Yes, this is freedom. Not freedom from thoughts, but freedom in the presence of thoughts. This is what the ancient samurai knew. This is Fudoshin, the immovable mind. Kenji bows deeply. Thank you, Master. Takeshi watches him walk away, sees himself at that age, remembers the monastery, remembers Ryokan's patience. The teaching continues, generation to generation, warrior to warrior. Not through books or lectures, through practice, through the lived experience of discovering that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness in which thoughts appear. And that awareness, that's unbreakable, untouchable, always present, always peaceful, always free. Final wisdom. The ancient samurai technique to eliminate negative thoughts forever isn't what most people expect. It's not positive thinking. It's not affirmations. It's not pushing thoughts away or replacing them with better ones. It's something deeper and simpler. 3 parts: Miru, Shiru, Kaeru. Observe without judgment. When a negative thought appears, don't fight it. Don't believe it. Don't try to change it. Simply notice it. I'm having the thought that I'm not good enough. This creates distance. This is Miru. Understand without obeying. Recognize that the thought comes from an old part of your brain trying to protect you. Thank it for its concern. I appreciate you trying to keep me safe. Right now, I'm okay. This reduces its power. This is Shiru. Return to the present moment. Redirect your attention to something immediate and real. Your breath, your body, what's actually in front of you right now. Not tomorrow's worries or yesterday's regrets. Here, now. This is Kaeru. The thoughts don't disappear. That's not the goal. The goal is to change your relationship with thinking itself. When you master this, negative thoughts lose their control over you. They still visit, but they're just visitors. You're no longer their prisoner. This is what freed Takeshi from 2 years of mental torment. This is what allowed him to return to peak performance. This is what he passed on to the next generation. And this is what's available to you right now in this moment. The battle against negative thoughts cannot be won through force, but it can be transcended through understanding. You are not your thoughts. You are the space in which thoughts appear, and that space, that awareness, it's already free. It's already peaceful. It's always been there, waiting for you to notice it. If you're ready to begin this practice, to learn the warrior's path to mental freedom, join us. Subscribe, train daily, walk with presence, live with purpose. The ancient samurai discovered something that modern psychology is only now confirming. Freedom isn't found by having different thoughts. It's found by changing your relationship to all thoughts. Welcome to the path, warrior. See you in the next lesson.